Hello, and welcome to episode 33 of Intercultural Insiders. My name is John McGraw, and I help newcomers, expats, and businesses connect across cultures to succeed in less time and pain. I am the founder of Hyaku Coaching, which is dedicated to helping you create a new pathway to success in a new culture. The purpose of Intercultural Insiders is to share the stories of people with intercultural experiences. So if you're feeling isolated or lost, you can hear something from the guests' experiences that could help you, even if it's just a reminder that you're not alone. Today is part 2 of our conversation with Meg Noteboom. Yesterday was Canadian Multiculturalism Day, and today, Eid Mubarak to all my colleagues observing today. There's a couple of other announcements I'd like to make. One is about coffee with SOS. Which is being held by SOS Talent, which is a new company, HR outsourcing, recruitment, and training company that I'm proud to be a part of. So this event is taking place on Saturday, July 8th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. This is called Coffee with SOS. It's a great opportunity to ask your Canadian HR questions to a panel of experts: Liliana Nakamura, Loralee Prinzen, Leona Wilson, and Shweta Maheshwari Sharma. So again, this is going to be online Saturday, July 8th at 10 a.m. Eastern. So to register, I encourage you to follow the link, which I am just going to put up on the screen right here. So follow the link right here for Coffee with SOS to register and join in and hear all of the questions you may have about HR in Canada. So it's going to be a very valuable session. Another announcement that I would like to make is a reminder about Intercultural Insiders Info, which is the official newsletter for Intercultural Insiders. This has replaced the invitations, the individual invitations to the LinkedIn Live events. So it's the new way of staying on top of what's happening with Intercultural Insiders. So if you want to know about upcoming episodes, the best way is to subscribe to the newsletter and keep all of that. The next edition will be coming out soon, which will have details on upcoming episodes. And today is part 2 of the conversation with Meg Noteboom, who is a Newcomer Mentorship Facilitator for the neighborhood organization TNO, which helps all sorts of people to find work, including newcomers settling into Canada. And she immigrated to Canada from Japan. And it was if you attended or watched last week's episode, there was a lot of discussion about Canadian experience and that barrier and so many things around that. And it was a very lively conversation in the chat. And I expect that today will be also quite lively as well. So in today's episode, we talk about the benefits of mentorship and networking to your success in Canada, how networking helped Meg to get her position at TNO, and what newcomers and Canadian employers can get by going out of their comfort zones to bridge the culture gap. As always, this interview is pre-recorded, but you can see even right now in the comments, if you're looking, that Meg is live in the chat. So feel free to ask questions and comment during the interview. You don't have to wait until that's done. I encourage you, if you haven't already, start off by posting where you're joining us from. Just do that right in the chat there, and there are always plenty of opportunities to network and connect with others. So use this as an opportunity not just to ask Meg questions, but to also connect with each other. And there's, as I'm sure, Anam, who I can see is Anam Halim, who I can see is also in the chat. He's a big proponent about the importance of networking if you watched the episodes where he was a guest. So I encourage you to do that, get involved. Again, start off by just telling us where you're joining us from. So without further wait, let's get into part 2 of the conversation with Meg Noteboom. I work with many newcomers and expats to help them connect across cultures to be successful in less time and pain. I tend to work more with them than I do with many Canadians by birth, simply because the immigrants are more aware of the challenge and the pain points, which I think many Canadians by birth, if they haven't experienced being elsewhere, are simply not aware of. One thing that I encourage newcomers to do is to really get into networking, finding different ways to connect with people, whether they're related to their profession or other people. It's an essential thing to do in Canada, particularly because those qualifications that they have may not be given as much weight if they're just going through traditional ways, sending out resumes, going to job interviews, asking for people to look at the resumes. How important is networking for newcomers?
You need to do the networking. This is because the Canadian job market has been said 90% of the job market is a hidden market. So you have to know someone. You have to have someone recommend you. It's both important to be connected within your network. So to be in your community, the people in the same ethnic background, gathering and know each other and tell you what you do and what you're looking for. That is a very important source of networking. But I also advise my clients to go out of the comfort of your own community, try to mingle with other people, especially those who are connected to the field that they are looking the employment in, which is, again, very difficult. Now, these days, LinkedIn is really useful to directly search people in the relevant field, and you can try to connect. There are enough people actually accept your invitation, even though you never meet the person. So that way you can start expand your network or asking casual questions using a LinkedIn message, or just simply look these people's career path and learn about the organization or certificate or institution that gives that certificate. That's one way to learn where to network. Other thing is, if you can find somebody who can give you a coffee chat, half an hour or an hour, talking about a career path, that would be really useful mentorship. Other thing is, one of the program I facilitate at the TNO, it's a Triac mentorship program. That program is designed for skilled newcomers to connect with the professional in their field, which is, if you can make use of this connection, it's really valuable because it's somebody really relevant in your skill set who is working in a Canadian job market, gives you insight or guidance how to break into the job market in that occupational specific field. But the thing is, like I said, 90% of job market is hidden. You do have to network in some way or another. Because even for the Canadians, I talk to a lot of employers or professionals in Canada as well. And some of them who are in the industry for more than 10 years, a lot of them say, you know what, I don't remember writing resume last time, because they don't have to go through the regular channel to apply for the job. It comes through their network. A lot of the cases I've seen, they hire someone because they know someone. It's easier for employers to hire that person. So I see that often they have a job post up and they've been there for a while. Meanwhile, collecting hundreds of resumes, sending to that position, and somebody comes in. Oh, you know what? I know somebody because my ex-colleague's cousin is looking for the position. I heard she's great. Hiring managers don't have a time usually to go through hundreds of resumes. So do you recommend? Sure. And the qualification looks good, they get hired. But are they the best person out of all this pile? Not necessary. That's why networking is so important. Somewhere you can get into those, oh, I know that person circle you're in.
I'm a firm believer in leveraging LinkedIn to start networking because based on my own personal experience, you can make a connection with just about anyone. It's important, again, how you approach them. One of the mistakes that many people make when they connect to someone is to send their resume right away and say, oh, please take a look over my resume. And if you have any recommendations, and that almost never works. exactly because of what you said. Especially if they're a hiring manager, they get those all the time. They don't have the time to do it. So it's important to get to know them as a person. Some basic tips: building your brand, showing a bit of yourself beyond just your job qualifications, who you are as a person, what you're looking for. And then you follow people and you comment on their posts. Say what you liked about it, something specific. Then you can send a connection request and say, hey, I really like what you wrote here, or that article that you shared. I thought this was really interesting because this. How about we connect? Most people will usually be open to that because, hey, this person commented on my post and they liked it. And then as soon as you can, see if you can get that coffee chat with them. Hey, do you have 20, 30 minutes for a coffee or just a Zoom chat? And it's not to get them to help you to find a job. It's to say, hey, if you've got some time, I'm curious about some information about this. Get to know them as a person, not as a vending machine to get jobs.
To interact the person before even sending your connection. I'll do that because I do point blank, just send the connection and see if the person accepts me in the conversation. But yeah, that would increase the chance to be connected for sure. Similar to what you say, I asked one of the mentor, so what is your advice about the LinkedIn? And the mentor said, be genuine as a person. Don't treat your mentor or contact as job board because they see through it.
And then more people know who you are and know you as a person. And even though you may still have to go through the hiring process, having people who know who you are opens up many more opportunities. You're not just some name on a resume. You're a known quantity. And I am curious, you mentioned the number of challenges that you had and the adjustment of coming here to Canada and the question of your identity about how you saw yourself. And now you're working for TNO. I'm curious about how you adapted and how you got to where you are now. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
How I got the job I have right now is through networking. I happen to know someone in the same field. She is my friend as a parent friend. We both had kids in the same age. We used to do the play date. But I happen to find that she's in the field and working in the company that is very relevant to this position I have right now. So first, I applied to the job for the other organization where she worked. And I found out she is actually quite important person in that company. I didn't know until I looked up. And I found a familiar face in the website. Oh, she's working here. So maybe I'll message her. And she told me that they already found a candidate that they want to hire. And I saw your resume were in the pile of next, second choice. So what she did is to locate my resume in the second best pile and put my resume up the top of the second pile. So because of that conversation, people in that team knew about me. So when this position came around, what happened is the organization circulated the job post within the network before it goes out public. Do you know anyone? And then one of the team member look at the email and ask my friend, oh, what about Meg? Is she still looking for a job? That's how this job came.
That's such a great illustration of the power of networking. And I think especially because this wasn't someone that you connected with initially because of a job prospect. It was through your children. You were parents, right? Through play dates.
Mommy friend.
Yeah, exactly. Your mommy friend. It just goes to show that you never know who might know someone else. I think whenever you have a conversation with someone, it's always good to see who they know and say, hey, is there anyone you know that I should talk to?
One interesting place for me when I was a full-time mother is the drop-in center for children and parents. It's called Ali Year Center. And there are multiple locations in Ontario. And in a local drop-in center I used to go, mothers are there. They're taking mat leaves and they're craving to talk with adults. So we sit there and watching kids playing and chat. And there are so many different occupations I heard there. Mothers and father, they're just taking a time off for their children, but there's a lot of chance to learn about different life stories and career. I heard somebody, I'm looking for this kind of job. If you hear something, please let me know. I hear that too. And one thing I found it's very interesting. It goes back to the previous topic about the people's life story. One thing I noticed is a lot of mothers who immigrated Canada by choice, those people are really privileged class back home. So I talked to one of the mother. She said, it's so much work in Canada because you have to do everything. You have to do the child minding. You have to cook it. You have to cleaning. You have to do the wash. I never had to do that back home. It was a quite eye-opening moment for me because we have this impression about the immigrants. Often they're having a difficulty in the first few years. In Canada, a lot of them can be on the welfare and they're struggling. Probably Canadians tend to have this impression that immigrants are not very wealthy or privileged, but they were and back home. And then what they have to deal with here, it's a real difference, right? Your socio-political location is completely different. And those kind of things that I want Canadians or employers to think of, what these people are going through.
Yeah, to understand where they came from initially and not just to see a surface impression of where they are now and what that means they are as people. But the fact that they've gone through those challenges, and as you said, they have come from very privileged backgrounds and now they're starting over.
So excluding from giving a chance is really a shame for Canadians.
The question is really what's that special about Canadian experiences compared to many of these people who have international experience in multiple countries working with people from all across the world. So what is it about Canadian experience? A friend of mine, when he was in an interview for a Canadian office of an American branch of a company here, they said, oh, you don't have Canadian experience. And his response was, first of all, can you tell me what Canadian experience is? And then he also followed up by saying, okay, this is a branch of an American company. Did they ask you about your American experience before they hired you here? Which the Canadians that were interviewing him had no response to that.
Yeah, it's a risk factor. They don't want to take a risk.
More awareness of what is out there and what these people are actually bringing. It's essential. We need to broaden the awareness of these people who are making the hiring decisions, that you need to pay attention to what they're doing. Don't have such a narrow view because Canada is losing out.
Yeah, it is true. I was hired for this position without the experience. So I'm very grateful that my supervisor decided to give me a chance. I did a long and hard way to get here because I originally had an intention to go back to the school. When I saw the opportunity that probably this is the time for me to go back to university, I did. Even though I had 3 kids, I did 4 years of undergrad and 2 years of master's. Then I got this job. So I took a long route, but I still didn't have experience to do this job. I did a lot of learning in the university. I'm grateful I was given a chance to do all this education. It was really great. I don't regret. But the experience I'm getting and this job is so much more, including this interview. I am not seeing myself as a public speaker, but I like to give it a try. I try to push my comfort zone and try to get out from that. Yeah, I was given the opportunity to learn in this job. And I see myself develop as a professional so much more than 3 months ago. And a lot of skilled newcomers have years of experience. They're not newly grad. If you give them a chance to prove themselves or even just give them a chance to accustom and learn what's surrounding, they will propel above newly grad Canadians. But there aren't many chances or the channel to give them a chance to let them try. Because what happens is the skilled immigrants come here and first year or so, they need to orient themselves. Settlement takes time and they settle themselves in and then start doing the job search or training. It takes their time, right? And they don't work in a profession for years. Then what happens is de-skilling is happening. So initially, very competitive or experienced person, if you don't hire them or give them a job that is way below the level of this person is capable of, and after a few years, their skill level goes down, which is really terrible.
By giving the support that these newcomers need, whether it's through employers and mentoring programs, mentors taking a chance on them, it may mean initial extra work for the employer in the short term, but in the long term, I think it's an investment.
Yes, for sure.
And I also want to acknowledge you, Meg, coming on here, not only in an interview, but in English, which is, as you said, not your first language, because I can manage some Japanese, but I would have no ability to have a conversation at this level that we're having right now if we tried to do this in Japanese. So, that speaks to your willingness to go out of your comfort zone, even to come here to Canada in the first place and to go through this long route. And I think that not only are you benefiting as a person from that growth, but all of the clients that you have helped and are helping are really benefiting from that. Just wanted to say that. So for people who want to get in touch with you or with the services that TNO provides, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So TNO has the support for everyone, not only newcomers, people in need, but for my responsibility particularly is employment service. You can email me if you are particularly interested in Triac mentorship program. I am constantly recruiting mentors who are willing to make a positive impact, or people who wants to learn intercultural competency or leadership. There's a lot of mentors, 10,000 mentors are registered on Triac mentor database. I am recruiting from any sectors: healthcare, education, IT, arts and culture, public service, you name it. If you would like to be a mentor and give newcomer professional mentee your insight about your occupational specific field, how you can support them to find employment, interview tips, networking, please contact me or use this link. And also newcomer mentees who would like to connect to the professional in Canada who has 2 years and more experience in your field, and you lived in Canada less than 5 years with a bachelor and above degree, you are eligible as a mentee. So send me an email or click the link.
Thank you so much again for your time, Meg, and for all of the work you do. There's so much that's necessary. And I think with more people like you, Canada can only benefit. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Okay, and that was part 2 with Meg Noteboom. And I'm just going to show her email again if you want to reach out to her to find out more about mentoring opportunities. So that's mnoteboom@tno-toronto.org. So you can find out more from Meg about that and those opportunities. I think it's a great opportunity. And as she even says herself, please reach out to me if you need a mentor or would like to give back as a mentor. So if you're looking for a mentor, if you want to be a mentor, please feel free to reach out to her. And yes, thank you so much, Meg, for sharing everything that you did today. And again, just commenting again that willingness to come out of your comfort zone. I think that Meg has been a real example for all of us in terms of speaking up, again, communicating in a language that's not her first language and doing that. So I think if she is capable of doing that, then what are we all capable of in terms of how we can give back, what we can do to find work, or what we can do to help others to integrate into Canadian society and the workplace. It's really, good for you, Meg. Good for you. Just wanted to say that again. And just going to share a couple of other comments. So Anam, thank you so much for such a wonderful session. So thank you joining in, Anam, as you regularly do. Again, Luna D also showing up as well. Loving this. And yes, thank you. Thank you, Meg, for everything that you're sharing as well. with that. So really just a couple of other things. Yes, and another comment again, Meg, just reminding all of us, okay, be a mentor, everyone. So take that on if you have a little bit of time, find out some more, contact Meg. And again, I'll show her, oh, I'm still here. That's my app, my camera app closing up. So I'll come back on in a moment, but I think I can still show the comments, even though if you can't see me, my minicam, so you can take a look and see. And there I am. Here I am back again. So you can see M Noteboom at tno-toronto.org. And another comment from Luna D. I agree. Pay it forward. Yeah, there's so much you can do, whether you have gone through the experience, you've immigrated to Canada yourself, or if you were born and raised here in Canada. There's plenty of opportunities to give back as a mentor. And just a couple of other things that I wanted to mention and bring attention to again. Again, not this weekend, but next weekend, July 8th, the Coffee with SOS event, where you can find out more about any questions that you may have about HR in Canada. Again, we've got 4 experts there to give information about that. It's a great opportunity. So just follow that link to register, to find out more, and join in on Saturday, July 8th, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. You can get a lot of great information. And SOS Talent, again, a company for HR outsourcing and talent management and training that I am proud to be associated with and proud to be a part of. And coming up next week is a special standalone episode with Andy Ford, who is a translator, and he's a former broadcaster for NHK, which those of you who may not know, NHK is the public broadcaster in Japan. It's similar to the CBC in Canada or the BBC in the UK. Now, Andy did live in Japan before, but when he was working for NHK, he was based in the UK. So he shares a lot about talking about his experiences working cross-culturally in his home country. So it's, I think it's an opportunity, even though the focus is on Japan, about the idea for those of us who were born and raised in a particular country, the idea of working across cultures. And he has a lot of interesting stories to share about that. Now, I should note that this will not be on LinkedIn Live, as I'm taking next week off. So, however, this will be streamed at the usual time on YouTube at Wednesday, July 5th from 12 to 12:30 p.m. And it will also be released later as an audio podcast episode on Monday, July 10th. So again, it's a great opportunity for a standalone episode. I encourage you to tune in for that on YouTube, the Hiyaku Coaching YouTube channel, which again, I will show here. And again, you can find more information about all of the upcoming episodes on the Intercultural Insiders info newsletter, which of course I will show here. And I also want to mention after that, the next episode on July 12th is going to be back on LinkedIn Live. And that's a conversation with Meher Mardoyan, who is a job search coach for immigrants. This is part 1 of a conversation, a 2-part conversation. And in this episode, he's going to have a lot to share from the experiences that he's had coaching immigrants to Canada on finding jobs. And he will be joining live in the chat. This episode will be on LinkedIn Live in part 1 of part 2. So our usual format. So I encourage you to join in for that episode. And again, for more information about the episode with Andy or the 2-parter with Meher, I encourage you to take a look at Intercultural Insiders info, the newsletter there, where you can get more information about those upcoming episodes. So a lot of stuff going on, a lot of opportunities to learn, a lot of opportunities to connect with people. Just as always, it was a lively chat today. Really enjoyed it, as I always do. And I think the audience does as well. So until next week, keep navigating your way between cultures towards your goals. Thank you very much.